Testing. Hey, I'm going to record it here too. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. That's really low. Maybe because it's testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me now? Huh? Okay. I hate those noises. I hope I don't make a bunch of them. Hello. Oh, I guess it is farther away than it normally is. Come here, buddy. Testing, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, I think that's good. That's up really, really high. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. There we go. I think that's good. Hopefully, we're getting good audio on both sides. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Rico. Hey, Own the Monkeys. Thanks for swinging on by. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm testing out the whole audio setup right now. Not too loud, not too quiet. Thank you, Emilio. Thank you. Hello, moreover. David James, thank you. Okay, perfect. We sound good. Yeah, we're here for the my hat's dirty. I shaved my head the other day. Explains the absence of my hair. Thank you, No Context. Yeah, you have been here for a long time. Popping up in the comments. Hey, Jacob. Hey, Rudy. 925 at the morgue. 6th anniversary special. Yeah, Rudy, I took it off. It's growing back pretty quick, but it'll come in pretty gray. El Enrique, thanks. Yeah, since the lockdown days, I remember I was like, I'm not going to cover COVID at all because I was like, we're just too busy, too tired hearing about it, and I'm glad I didn't because the podcast probably would have been shut down now if I was covering COVID conspiracy theories at the time. It's like, but that was just luck that I didn't go. Look what I found. Maybe this is alternative Jason, Rudy. This is the no hair Jason. I'm hoping like you see. I know people listening to the podcast, they're like, why is the first 10 minutes about visual stuff? My hair's coming back in real gray, which is kind of what I wanted. You can even see. I want to have like a gray mohawk. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. That's so funny, El Enrique. No, normal Irish guy. Probably other Irish people would want to consider me a normal Irish guy, but yeah, they probably don't. They probably don't, considering they're probably a little less weird than I am. Thank you. No sound, Norma. You're not hearing anything. Does everybody else hear? Everybody else got the audio? No, Zara. I actually got this. There was a big store downtown that had a bunch of Bigfoot stuff, and they went out of business. They were selling it for $350, but Sabine knew the owner, so he just gave it to me. It's pretty awesome. And then this is my sign that I made for the very first. I think this was for the UFO festival. So it's styrofoam. My friend Amalia gave me a piece of styrofoam painted red. And I was like, okay, that's all I need. I went and bought some stencils and painted that on. So that's the Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey, Khaki. Good. I'm glad to hear you guys can hear it. So yeah, I got that. I had a new one printed out for the Ghost Conference, the last Ghost Conference we went to. Maybe what is this? Oh, okay, this is my mic. The last time I did one of these live shows, the audio sounded good on YouTube, but when I went to go post it on the podcast side, it was so distorted. Let me do this. That I didn't feel comfortable putting up, which sucks because it was our 5-year anniversary, but it just didn't sound that good. I'm trying to not. Sorry. This is all stuff I probably could have figured out had I got started right before this. Big Al, nice to see you. Anon, Nicole, thanks for swinging on by. Yeah, 6 years. I had totally forgotten about that this was a anniversary. Like, I was editing that episode the other night and I looked at it. What happened was I got that release date for that movie wrong. I was like, everybody go out and see this movie. It's going to be so awesome. Coming to a theater this weekend. And then I was looking at links because I was putting in the trailer and the show notes, and they said July 12th, and I was like, oh man. And then I realized that this was 6 years ago. What was it? 6 years ago, Friday. Dead Rabbit Radio got started up. And what a fun adventure it's been. Like, who would have thought? Who would have thought I'd be doing it for 6 years? Honestly, but I'm glad that I am. It's just weird. It's weird to think about. When I think about like we're going on 1,300. What's funny is the first 500 episodes seemed like a huge milestone, and then the 1,000 episodes seemed like a huge milestone. But what's the next milestone? It's not 1,500. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about 1,500. I think the next one is like 2,000, and then 5,000. Thanks, Big Al. Yeah, I'm hoping for another 6 years as well. This is one of those shows that I was like, it's time consuming to put together, but I was like, you don't have to be in good health to do the show. I mean, it's preferable, but I was like, I could do the show as like an old man. I'm like sitting, I'm wheeling around the whole time you hear my wheelchair squeaking. You could do we could record it from a rest home, scooting around. Kelly said they got their kids and grandkids addicted to Dead Rabbit Radio. I know, Khaki, I don't remember if it was you or somebody else who was like, hey, me and my kids are going to listen to Dead Rabbit Radio today. And I thought, whoever this was, I don't remember if it was exactly Khaki Q, but someone was like, hey, getting ready to listen to an episode with my kids today. And I thought he was joking. Maybe he was joking, but that episode was about a kangaroo alien who sexually assaults a woman and gets her pregnant. And I was thinking, it's probably not one you want your kids to listen to. It's going to have a lot of weird conversations afterwards. And then, yeah, later on, like I could tell, like after about a half hour after that first comment, there was like, damn it, Jason. So I don't know if those kids are allowed to listen to it anymore. Hey, Burb. Love listening to your podcast. Thanks. Yeah, no, I'm so glad you guys check it out. I mean, again, like I think if I was a listener, okay, so that wasn't Khaki, to be fair. Hey, Fabio. Thanks for coming out, Fabio. If I was a listener, I don't think I'd be able to listen to it every day, but it would be a podcast that every so often I would go in and out of. Like I might not listen to it for a couple months because, just busy work stuff, family stuff. And then I'd be like, oh, I wonder if Dead Rabbit Radio is still on. And then I would check it out and listen to it for, a couple weeks, a couple months. And then I think people kind of fade in and out, which is totally fine. Sorry, that was disgusting. But, hey, Dirk Rodman. Thanks. Yeah, six more years would be fun. Because, yeah, that would put me at what, 53? That's still young enough to do a radio show. I think most radio hosts do it until they die. Art Bell took that long sabbatical, but then he came back and started doing a show again. So, Rudy Jess says the next milestone is me fist fighting an alien. Owen the Monkey says the next milestone should be like me winning a hot dog eating contest. These are things that I probably will never do. Hot dog eating contest looked fun until I saw those people dipping their hot dogs in water to be able to swallow. And I was like, that's disgusting. I don't want a soggy hot dog bun. That's like a tactic. Just give me some mustard. Relish, they're putting more stuff on it. I'm like, yummy, yummy, yummy. I only eat 3 and then I leave. I was just hungry for that day. Short Circuit, congrats. I've been listening to the podcast since 2019 and haven't missed a single episode. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I know people will go back. Again, like if I wasn't making this show, if I stumbled across it, I think it would be a show that I would like go back and check episodes and stuff like that. And then David James says, watches it nightly, miss it when you're on breaks. Nightly walks don't feel right. Yeah, the breaks is something that I'm still trying to figure out. Like if you guys, maybe you've noticed on breaks, I stopped doing Retro Rabbits. I stopped doing reruns because I didn't want to clutter up the feed. I know a lot of people like the reruns because they may be an episode they've never heard before, but I don't want it to just be this constant. Plus, also, when I'm on a break, I try not to do anything Dead Rabbit Radio related. I'm not like reading the news. There were huge war breaks. I was like, oh, what? I try to not do anything Dead Rabbit Radio related so I can be fully rested for it. Old hybrid, been listening since 2018. Yeah, that's when we started off. It was June 12th. No, June. Wait, what was it? Now I don't remember. It's just the other day. June 13th, 2018 is when I recorded the episodes. I think they got uploaded on the 14th, 2018. And then, again, I always remember what my dad told me. If you have a goal, do it, because that time's going to pass no matter what. Had I just kept putting off starting Dead Rabbit Radio, it would have gone by. Those 6 years would have passed anyways, but I would have just been like, not doing it, not having fun, not reading all of these stories. Khaki Cube says when they're listening at work, it's always a story that they would be embarrassed to share with people, like the animal fetish gorilla gimp suit story. I don't remember the. I mean, here's the thing. I'll say I don't remember that one. What I really mean to say is it could be multiple ones. It could be so many weird ones. I think the weirdest one would be the one. This one pops in my head every once in a while because I'm starting to think. I think I mentioned it on the episode about the guy who, the pervert who loved smelling dog farts or something like that. He loves smelling disgusting smells, and they take him to a laboratory and they're making him smell the stuff. And he's like, no, and he's freaking out. And I covered it on the show. I was like, what a weirdo. What a weirdo. But I think I said on that episode, I go, it's possible we're playing into this guy's sick fetish. Well, a couple months later, I go, I wonder what that sicko's up to. I wonder what he's up to. So I went back to his profile on Reddit, and he was posting more stories about stinky things. I'm trying to stay away from. I was like, okay, yeah, he just has a fetish for smelly stuff. I think that was it. That he was attracted. He was a pervert, and the doctors were trying to get him to not be a pervert, so they made him smell gross stuff to not be a pervert. Yeah, and then that's just his thing. He loves smell. Apparently, he's been kicked out of subreddits for that. Rudy Jazz says they always listen to it at work. Rico in Acapulco, thank you so much for the donation. Congrats, and thank you. Here's another 6 years. Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be really cool. And I'd like to do more. My thing is I'd love to do more traveling and more live shows. I think it would be great getting out there. Rudy Jazz listens to it at work. Kelly Adams, when I'm on vacation, they go all the way back to the beginning to get the Dead Rabbit Radio fix, which is awesome. It's funny. People listen to that first episode. For my first maybe 500 episodes, that was my most downloaded episode. Maybe first 200. But people would always go, and I'm like, that episode sucks. That episode is not indicative of the quality of the show. Trust me. But I still think it's funny. I'll check out that episode every once in a while. Nick J, thank you so much for wishing me a happy anniversary. And then we got to go back here. Where did I see this comment? Oh, El Enrique Sanchez is smoking. I don't know if you can talk about weed on YouTube, actually. I mean, I talk about all sorts of other stuff, weird perverts, but he's blazing. I imagine that that would be fun to, it's been a long time. I used to smoke back in my 20s, but I imagine that would be fun to like smoke and listen to a podcast. I've always wondered what it would be like to be high and see a live stage play. Right. You're freaking out. You're like, oh no, I'm here. Oh no, I'm one of the three musketeers. I didn't practice. You're running around with the sword, taking the props, running around. Yeah, Nick J, thank you so much. Khaki Cube. Oh, do animals have fetishes? Yes. That was, I do remember that. I remember that. Okay, now I remember. That's what Khaki Cube was talking about, the embarrassing episode. That was the thing. Would an animal have a foot fetish or a paw fetish in their case? Or do animals just have sex to procreate? Or is there like a baboon out there or a gorilla, I guess was in my original example, who wanted to be dressed in a gimp suit, walk around in it's all killing a cow and curing the skin and making leather. It has like a little zipper, a little gorilla gimp suit. Do they? That's a super interesting question. You guys research that. I don't want to type it into Google. You guys research that. Hey, Drunk Bob, thanks for swinging on by. Kelly Adams, yeah, what kind of trauma do you have to go to for Stink to be exciting? Who knows? Like so much of that stuff comes out of some weird experience. I remember a long time ago, I think it was Vice magazine, like in the early days, early 2000s, did an article about feeders. Those are men who like to feed women until they're like 4, 5, 600 pounds. And I remember, like, 'cause in the early days of the internet, you're like, "What? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of," because you didn't have access to all this other weird stuff out there. I read this article, and it was about a support group for people, and it wasn't like to get them to stop feeding; it was to support them to want to feed people more. And the journalists interviewed all of these people. They were all average dudes who were into this fetish, and almost all of them said, "Yeah, when I was a kid, I saw this Porky Pig cartoon where he was force fed. Like this machine was built and it was force feeding Porky Pig, and I can never get that out of my head. Like that cartoon, which was supposed to just be a joke. I had seen that cartoon. I didn't become a feeder. I'm not out there feeding people. Um, they watched that cartoon at a real pivotal point in their life, and they decided that's how they were going to express their love, was by feeding people, by basically turning their loved ones into Porky Pig. So weird. Same thing like a foot fetish. A foot fetish is odd to me. Like I can appreciate a nice feet. I can appreciate a nice set of feet. I guess I'm not like adverse to them, but I don't have a fetish for them. Their feet. I mean, if you don't have them, that's fine too. Not everybody has feet, but then there are some people like that's their thing, and they have to get stepped on. They have to lay on the ground and let people walk on their face. Fabio says, staying healthy. I work an office job and hate working out doing cardio. You know what's funny? And also, the podcast helps them take their mind off what's going on and have weird anecdotes to tell during the day. Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes when I'm not working, and especially not working on the podcast, I just sit and play Minecraft and watch movies. And I got to get out of that because that's not good at my age. I definitely got to move more. But if I'm not doing anything, I just want to sit there. I always remember an object at rest tends to stay at rest, and I'm in the object at that point. I need to get up. Denzo, love your show, Jason. Shout outs from Finland. Finland, yes. I think Finland is the only country that has been named twice in titles. That's a very specific award. Maybe North Korea, but we did a whole week on North Korea. Finland doesn't exist, and they also got the Finnish-Korean hyper war. Those were early episodes. Those were fun ones to cover. Yeah, Drunk Bob says a feeding like that is abuse. It's super interesting. Like that was the article was saying, this is a fetish. This is what these people are into. The women are willing, but then you die. You're 600-700 pounds. You can't do anything at that point. The chances of you dying younger really are pretty astronomical at that point. And that's just it. And it's super weird. We're seeing it now a lot in the gay community as well. You'll see men that are being fed. And I don't know if they all watch the same Porky Pig cartoon either, but it's a weird fetish. There are like that woman who had that bleach injected in her eyes because she didn't want to see anymore. Like at a certain point, I think you can go, okay, that's a little extreme. And feeding someone like that, I think, is pretty extreme. Let's see here. So Own the Monkey says someone must have seen that episode where Homer's hell was a donut feeding machine. That was making fun of the Porky Pig cartoon. I don't remember if Porky Pig specifically went to hell, but I remember seeing that. That was a gag off that old cartoon. I mean, maybe they came up with it independently, but that Porky Pig cartoon was, it was in rotation when I was a kid. And I remember seeing the Homer Simpson where he's all more, and he's just like keeps eating all the endless supply of hot dogs. But yeah, you're right, Kaki. He said that. You're right, Own the Monkey. Somebody probably was turned on by that as well. It's just such a weird, the way the human brain works. Yeah, Denzo says, can appreciate a fine woman even without the feet. Some people, it's all about the feet, right? That generally foot fetish or serial killer who collects feet. They just have that thing. And sometimes you can compare it to someone having a attraction to blondes, like they only date blondes. People have said technically that's a fetish because it's directing your sexual choices, it's directing your dating choices when it's really just a coloration thing. The question is, what's a preference? When does it? Because yeah, let's say you go, I don't have a foot fetish, but I, would like to date women with 10 toes. Is that a preference or is that a fetish? I think that's where those. I try to figure out where those lines are. Rudy Jazz asks, "Has there ever been an episode in Switzerland?" I think there's been a couple. Wasn't Switzerland the one? Well, that might have been Finland actually, where the alien crashes near the logging camp, and he's all internally, "I've been destroyed." And the humans, I think the robot says, I mean, the alien says some sort of prayer. It's a really interesting UFO story. The more I talk about it, I think that might have been in Finland as well. Yeah, I think Finland's representing once again. Kaki asks, how often does high strangeness happen in Switzerland? You know what's in? It's so weird because a long time ago we did an episode about it was like the giant blurry alien versus Israel, and it was a setup where it was like 7 or 8 different encounters with the same type of alien in Israel over the course of like 6 weeks. And then nothing else. I recently, when I say recently, I found this a couple months ago, but I came across another story like that happened in Israel. It was all of these super weird encounters that like started off in the wilderness, moved into the city. I think it was in the late 70s. It was something like that. And I want to cover it. There's a lot of stuff going on. I got to type up all my notes. But what's interesting is when we look at stories of aliens, the big question is, they're coming in to save the planet. They're shutting down our nuclear weapons. They're interfering with our military bases. We don't get any of those reports anywhere in the Middle East. The closest we've had to it was in the past couple of years when you had that Iranian nuclear power plant and there were those lights overhead. And those were reported as UFOs or UAPs. Most people just said, no, that's probably U.S. military spy planes or Israeli spy planes. But it's odd that we don't get a lot of stories out of the Middle East. As you start to get into Northern Africa, we start to see stories in like, how do you pronounce it? Is it Tunisia? We start to get stories of like jinn activity, or we did that one crazy story about, I think it was in Morocco, where kids were being murdered because they were supposedly the children of jinn. And if you killed them and did something with their body, you would have magical powers. It's a real crime epidemic that goes on to this day because they had something about them. It was either the coloring of their eyes or the way their hair was that seemed to be different. I think it was if you took these kids, they could show you where jinn treasure was buried. So it's one of those regions that I think, and you guys have said this too, actually has a lot of paranormal activity. It's just not being reported outside of the region. And any sort of alien activity you may report as a jinn. But it definitely doesn't seem to be reported out of the region. The Soviet Union had a ton of UFO sightings that we didn't even know were real until the 90s. We'd never even heard of them because the Iron Curtain kept all of those stories from getting out. People didn't talk about it. The risk was too high. So you could have, where did we get off on that topic? There could be stories happening in Switzerland that are not being translated to English. So they're not really leaving the region, or it's being ascribed to some other phenomenon. But it's definitely an interesting, you would think there was more. Was that Sweden, the one where they find the alien's cup or something? I don't, Kaki, again, we're talking about the internally I was destroyed. I think, I can actually pull it up right here. People often ask, how do you find past episodes of Dead Rabbit Radio? I know this isn't the most glamorous topic, but if you go to the website, deadrabbitradio.libsyn.com or just deadrabbit.com, you can type in like a word. You can type in any word and anything will pop up. Like, I remember in that episode, I think it was called Internally I Was Destroyed, or I Am Destroyed. So I'm going to type in Am Destroyed. And the search will find that episode. So So if you're looking for something like a that's kind of super specific, but if you're looking for like a near death episode or a nightmare, a certain nightmare, or you type it into the search in the website, you'll almost always pull it up. Let's see. Sweden. That's not Switzerland, right? I was excited there for a second. That's not Switzerland. That story with that alien took place in Sweden. The logging camp one. Yeah, I think that was it. Tragic death of a humanoid in 1955 Sweden. Rudy Jazz says that their workplace might be haunted because stuff keeps appearing and disappearing randomly. 100% could be right. Could just be a sloppy workplace. So you're like, where do we put the fire extinguisher? Ghost took it. Yeah, the gas mask one in Switzerland. That was on our show. That was an episode that had been lost for a while. I actually thought that was in France. The person who was walking around on like the full get up with the gas mask, and people kept taking pictures of him. And then people were like, the newspaper published the pictures. People were looking for him. And then one day there was the gas mask. The whole outfit was left on a rock along with a note saying, "You have killed me. I just wanted to be left in peace. Please leave me alone." So hopefully he wasn't being literal that he went and killed himself. But yeah, crazy stuff. Illent, thank you so much for the donation. Thank you for 6 years of this wonderful podcast. Good health and happiness to you too, Jason. I'm writing this ill intent. What did I say? Illent? Yeah, ill intent. So you guys think that me mispronouncing stuff is just a meme. It's not. Let's see here. I wanted to go back up and we'll work our way back down to ill intent's comment. Fabio says, you often joke about security agencies listening to your show. Do you think aliens, maybe demons and cryptids, listen to it too? To be sure you don't spill the beans, come too close to the truth. I don't think cryptids listen to it. I mean, who knows? Bigfoot might have a Wi-Fi connection. Yeah, it was interesting on a couple episodes ago, maybe it's a couple weeks ago, I made the comment, I said that God knows who you are and God knows who I am, but I don't think the devil knows who I am. I don't think I'm on a threat level assessment. I don't think there's a big corkboard in hell. They got these newspaper articles and red string tying it all together. I would be surprised if the devil knew who I was. You know what's funny? It's like, I think a demon could have listened to the podcast. The demon could probably just hang out in my... I'm not inviting one. I was like, yeah, come on by. I'm not saying that, but a demon could just be here while I was recording it too, right? They wouldn't have to be like, oh, when's this episode coming out? I want to go to bed. Episodes have been coming out really late at night recently. See, for me, the deadline of the show is 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. That's the hard, fast deadline. So you can listen to it as you're getting to work, right? Usually episodes come out 7 p.m. the day before, like the night before. So it looks like the show's Sunday through Thursday, but really I'm just releasing them early. It's supposed to be Monday through Friday. I'm sure all these episodes get uploaded into Carnivore. That's the United States big... they might have a different one by now. Carnivore was back in the 90s, but it just basically consumed all of our phone calls and sorted it away. That was under the Clinton administration. And it's not a conspiracy theory. It's real. I could see this podcast every single minute is in some sort of government computer. And what's more interesting than that is they're getting the unedited episodes because they're taking them right from my computer. All of this cloud computing, what is this now? Windows 11 takes a snapshot of your screen every 5 seconds or something like that. The government has access to all of the recordings and all of the non-recordings. Me just sitting here in front of my computer or me within, speaking volume of somebody else's telephone, and all gets recorded. I think because I advertise on the X board, I think if anything has put me on any sort of, hey, let's check out this podcast type of thing, is the fact that I advertise on the X board. It really is, I think, the best place for this show to advertise. I've looked into advertising on Phantoms and Monsters website. We'll probably do that at some point. Advertising on Godlike Productions, advertising on these other conspiracy theory websites. But I think the X board right now is the best one. Like we've been running ads there for quite a while. It's probably been about 2 years off and on. It's mostly on at this point. There's an ad in one of the formats. But I think if anything has piqued the interest of a security community, it's been that. But like, I don't think aliens listen to the show. I would be surprised if demons listen to the show. I don't think that if they did, they would go, this guy, even if he knew the truth, he can't pronounce it. Nobody would know what he was talking about. I think he'll be okay. That's my personal. Well, here, Khaki Cube says Dead Rabbit Radio has some alien fans. I would like to imagine there's aliens stranded on Earth and underground bunkers. The problem with that is that listen, I do love aliens. I love alien stories. I always do play up the angle of me just beating up aliens. I do have my shirt, Fight for Glory, Pride and Honor. This was the one. We did an episode with this shirt. Keep Struggle for Freedom Fight, established in 1984. And it's a picture of an alien and two, what are those, brass knuckle knives? What does it say at the bottom here? Solar Warden, Reptilian Resistance Corps, Protect the Earth. I mean, this is an awesome shirt. This is not a piece of merch that I make. I remember I found this when I was doing an episode. I think it was the Earth First episode or somewhere around there. And I laughed really, really hard. And then I was like, I got to buy it. I 100% have to buy this shirt because I'll forget it exists. It's in regular rotation every once in a while. Harbinger Solution, thank you so much for swinging on by. Master of Ellipses, thanks for stopping on by. Celestial M, getting a nice group coming on in here. Sunken Flower, congratulations on 6 years. Thank you. Master Ellipsis is supposed to be at work. they're supposed to be guarding a nuclear silo. They're like, I think it'll be okay. Odd Hybrid, thanks for swinging on by. Let's see here. Rampart, listen to all your shows in my nightly gaming sessions. Awesome. Maybe it sets the mood. Maybe it's like, well, the problem is the show, I don't really know if it has a tone. That's been the big struggle with the show. Some episodes, people are like, oh, that was really funny. That was hilarious. Then the next episode, they're like, that was sad. How many times do you have to talk about parents dying in a half hour? You seem to just cram them in. Sometimes I'll come across the really depressing story and I'll go, okay, I'm going to add more depressing stories to this episode. So if someone wants to skip it, they can. But then the problem is then I started like laughing and telling jokes during the first depressing story to try to lighten the mood. And then it's just this tonal chaos. Drunk Bob says, I can't believe Jason uses more fuel than Tay-Tay flying around all the place in the Carpenter copter. That, yeah, we do use that. We do use that copter a lot. And I don't even know. I probably diesel. What do they use in a helicopter? I imagine it's not gasoline, but I don't know. It could be wrong. Khaki Cube says they're powered by renewable energy. Last week, we brought out a boogie board. You know, it's funny because sometimes I think I overthink stuff. And I go, if I was a Patreon supporter, what vehicles would I want to be in? That is a question that I ask. And normally, it's just one vehicle and then the Carpenter copter. I want to make sure everyone flies the Carpenter copter. I don't know why I think that's just like a part of the show, the Carpenter copter. I don't know why that became the mainstay. But sometimes I'm like, hey, we're going to hop in the Dead Rabbit dirigible. And I can imagine the Patreon for that episode being like, oh, man, I wanted to ride the Jason Jalopy. Or I wanted to do if somebody said, I did get a comment once. Someone said, can I ride the train? I forgot who it was, but somebody said, can I be the pilot of a specific vehicle? And I was like, yeah, totally. It's like, there's no rhyme or reason to any of this. But outside of that, like when I get a new Patreon, I look at how disgusting or disturbing a particular episode is. I probably won't put a new Patreon there because they might have just listened to a few episodes and they haven't stumbled across the animal stink episode yet or the gorilla gimp suit. So sometimes when I have a new Patreon, sometimes they will say, like I have a guy who joined the Patreon before I went to break and specified, they didn't say I had to do this, but they requested, could you put me in an episode with reptilians. And that was Comrade Dragon said, "Can you put me in an episode with reptilians?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." We haven't covered one since. Not out of because I was like, "Oh, I'll show you for making a request." I just find what I find, and then we haven't come across one. So that kind of sucks. Comrade Dragon's probably going to cancel the Patreon before they even get mentioned. Rudy, thank you so much for the donation. Rudy wrote, "I know I often joke about seducing the paranormal, but what do you reckon would happen if I tried to seduce a ghost or demon or something like that?" That's an interesting question, and it's really two things. It would be akin to saying, what would happen if I seduced a human or a Tasmanian devil? Yeah, they're both biological entities. They both live on Earth, but the demon will try to do whatever it can to destroy you. And it would actually want you to try to seduce it. It would work its way into your life. A ghost, it would still just be like a human. Like, I don't recommend either because you don't know what the results are going to be and you don't really know what you're dealing with. But one would want to destroy your life. One could not destroy your life. It could just fade away. A couple different things could happen. But I think someone posted on Reddit the other day and they're like, my father-in-law died recently and we're talking to him through a lamp. There's a lamp on the floor and it turns on and off, like one flash for yes, two flashes for no, type of thing, right? And then, okay, that's fair, right? People will communicate with ghosts like that. But then they said, "Oh, by the way," let me see if I can pull it up because it was one of the weirdest. Okay, I can't say one of the weirdest. I can't say that with a straight face. But what was it? It was oh dang it, I might not be able to find it. I thought I bookmarked it. It might be bookmarked on my phone. Anyways, I'll have to find it. They said now my father-in-law can visit any place on Earth at will, knows the future, can communicate with other ghosts, knows everything. I was like, that's a demon. You're describing a demon. Ghosts, as we know them, cannot teleport to anywhere on Earth at any given time. In fact, that's pretty much the opposite of what we think of as a ghost. If you're talking about the spirit world, spirits like they're actually passed over, those you can communicate with in any location, like if you're a medium. But if you died in Michigan and he can tell you what's happening in Taipei at that moment, that's probably not a ghost. That's probably not a ghost. It's most likely something else. Also, knowing the future, that's not something that ghosts generally have access to. There's been stories of ghosts knowing about upcoming family events. The birth of say, you're going to have a girl in 6 months and the baby turns out to be a girl, or you're going to be with me soon enough because the ghost is shaking his fist. You'll be with me soon enough. Being able to predict when another family member's about to die type of thing. But infinite knowledge, no, that's not, that's probably not a ghost they're talking to. Harbinger Solution, Jason, I remember when you did the 20 Days to a Better You a long time ago, and I took that pretty seriously, and it helped out a lot in my life and art business. So thank you for that. I really like those. Is it 20 days? I thought it was 90 days. 20 days is a little ambitious. You're like, oh man, you're trying to get everything done. It's funny. I like those 90 days to a better you. I just like to space them out. If it was something that I did every 90 days, then you're like, oh, whatever. I'll do it the next day. I think we do them once a year. I think the problem is a lot of times I do them right before I go on break. So even I'm like, what was I supposed to do? Or it's during Christmas time. I was like, you guys have something you need to do in your life and you want to do it now. People are like, dude, I'm eating turkey. I'm like, surrounded by my family. I have other stuff. So yeah, I think like a summertime one would be good. But it all goes back to that thing my dad said. That time is going to pass no matter what. Those 90 days are going to go by, whether you're working on your art business or not. So might as well make it productive. It's so funny. These glasses now actually hurt my eyes more than they used to. But trying trying to think what I need to do. My eyes hurt. My eyes don't hurt; they're itchy. I am going to eat these Tums, so I hope you guys hope you guys like some chalky ASMR because I got to eat these Tums. I'm having heartburn. Denzo says, I guess I could wait till I'm done eating this, but Denzo says if you are doing good, devil knows about it, and if you're doing poorly, God tries to cheer you on. I like that saying. That's a nice one. I like that. Sorry. Oh, the Monkey said the government should donate at least $5 to the podcast if they get that kind of access. Here's a conspiracy theory I have for. Never said this before. It's not world changing, but it'd be really easy to launder money through Patreon. In a way, right? You want to astroturf some group or a podcast or a show, make them look more popular. You set up all these accounts, they're all donating $5, $10, whatever. You can even do the big ones, $100 each. Patreon gets a cut of that. So if someone donates $5 to me, I basically get $4. They'd take $1, roughly, somewhere around there. When you launder money, I'm not saying Patreon's part of this. I'm saying you could use Patreon to do this. I'm not saying Patreon's being sneaky. If I had a bunch of money that I needed to launder, having an unknowing accomplice is a lot safer than someone who knows, like a bank that could, eventually blackmail you or say, hey, we want a higher percentage. We know what you're doing. You take the money, you donate it through Patreon. They take their cut, which they take from everyone. And if that cut is less than you would end up giving to a bank to launder your money, it would be totally fine. You could have a creator that's making $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month. There are creators out there like that are clear. 100,000s. There might not be anyone who's making $100,000 a month, but there are creators out there on Patreon or other services like this. What are the other services like this? Buy me a coffee or whatever. You could put money into this and you're laundering it. You're sending it to a group that you also they take a cut maybe, or maybe that's your group and you just take all the money. It wouldn't be that hard to do. I wonder if they have safeguards in place to stop that. Let's see here. Yeah, Kelly says if they are fans, it's because they enjoy hearing you laugh at yourself too. Yeah, that's true. I think that it's funny because that is a complaint I get about this show, and that's another thing people like about the show is the laughing. It's nothing I do on purpose. Trust me. If you listen to a live episode when we do the Patreon live episodes, I edit out more of the laughing than gets in. Like it'd drive me nuts if I knew someone was faking the laugh. So I really try. I think I'm pretty good at not there. I don't do that. The closest I'll come to it, sometimes I do this. If I tell a joke and it pops in my head for the first time, right, and I'm laughing, and I'm still trying to talk and you can't hear what I'm saying at the very end of the sentence. This happens a lot because you guys can tell, like, I'll be laughing and then my voice gets a little bit lower. Sometimes I'll re-record that last sentence, the last few words of the sentence. But it's really hard because at that point, like, it goes from me laughing to me just being like, and then he was never found again. And so it's so hard to edit around. It drives me nuts. Blitz Neo, thank you so much for the donation. I am taking down all these names. You guys will be getting your shout outs in the episodes. And Harbinger Solution, thank you so much as well. Thanks for being the best paranormal true crime podcast. Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's been nice to do more of the true crime on the TikToks, on the YouTube shorts, because I really do love true crime. It's just, it is different than paranormal. Like, I've learned that people who love true crime like paranormal, but people who like paranormal don't really like true crime. They find it very, very dark. It's one thing to talk about a woman who died in the 1800s, like threw her baby off a bridge, leapt to her death, and now you It's called Crybaby Bridge. You can hear the sound of a baby crying. That's a lot different than June 2024. A mother threw her baby off the bridge and then jumped to her own death. And it's like reported in the news. People don't want to hear that. Here's the thing. I don't like that type of true crime either, to be fair. I think it's just horrific. But there is that difference. The most horrible story I've told recently, and I told it because it linked back to World of Conspiracy, was that woman who killed her 2 kids and her boyfriend, like the day of the eclipse. That was horrible. And I was like, this is something that I wanted to cover because it really plays into that world of conspiracy theory. Yeah, Kelly Adams say, I define it as off the wall, unusual stories. I think that's a good way to describe the show for sure. Drunk Bob likes the Carpenter Copter. Denzo Carpenter, the Copter is proven a classic. Own the Monkeys. I remember the Dead Rabbit Rickshaw. Did we have a Dead Rabbit? That sounds pretty dope. Was that a thing? What was the sound effect for that? I actually like that one. Drunk Bob. The other people have said that too. Drunk Bob makes the sound effect. And other people have been like, yeah. Let's see here. I think funny, Kelly. Funny. I think that Blitz Neo, there's a comment. Hi, I love your show. Just wanted to say thank you for all the great work you do. Thank you for listening. I think that what was I going to say? Talking about what I think's fun is seeing how the show evolved. Because again, so much of this stuff is not planned. When I've been finding early episodes to work on that radio thing with, and they're still working on that. We're still getting it. It's up in the air, right? When you're working with someone else, it could take off, it could not. But I would listen to an episode like episode 300, and there's no Patreon shout outs. There's no one piloting the vehicles. And I go, oh, wow, I thought I started doing that really early on. I just say, hey, everyone, let's get on the Carpenter Copter. Hey, everyone, get on the boat. So it's that stuff that kind of pops up. Like, I don't even remember I think the vehicles, I think Jason Jalopy showed up first. And the Carpenter Copter was around at least by episode 50 because I made a big deal out of it in that vampire sex cult of Guatemala. No. The vampire sex cult of Yerba Buena. If anyone ever wants to say, when did Dead Rabbit Radio peak? Me personally, that was the story where I go, I'll never have anything as good as this. And this was, I think that was episode like 60. Because it was a single story. It was one of the weirdest stories I'd ever come across. And even now, that is one of the weirdest stories. And I'm surprised it doesn't gain more traction. Not the podcast get more traction, but just that story. They should make a movie. Make a Netflix movie about that. Sexy Sasquatch. Rudy Jazz is bringing up Sexy Sasquatch. That was the one time we did that episode live, and I couldn't figure out how to end the episode. And I was sitting in the haunted closet. Rudy Jazz was there. There's a couple other people there. And it's like, it's live, right? You guys get to hear the edited episode for free. And you're not missing, to be fair, you're not missing much. It's me editing out burps and coughs and bad jokes. But we were sitting there, and I was in the haunted closet, and it was so hot. And I could not figure out how to end the episode. And I would go, so the next time you're walking through the woods, and I trail off, and I'd be like, and then I'd have another go. And sometimes they'd be like 2 minutes long, and then I'd be like, that doesn't work. And I'd stop. And it went on for probably like 20 minutes, not the episode itself, the ending. I could not figure out how to end it. So I tell them, guys, I'm not going to be able to end it right now, but I'll figure out something because this episode's doing like 6 hours. And I remember, I think it was Rudy who said, when the episode did come out, they're like, I had no idea what it was going to be. And it was Sexy Sasquatch. It came out and did a parody of the Roy Orbison song, Pretty Woman, which, to his credit, or whoever owns that music, they never gave me a copyright strike. I mean, I knew. It's like, oh, this could just get deleted. Sexy Sasquatch walking down the street. I don't remember that. I just remember it was to that tune. Should pull it up, play that again. Yeah. Sexy Sasquatch. That was a fun one. David James swinging on by. Let's see here. Nick J. Oh yeah, Nick J. Congrats on 6 years. Big things coming. That's Nick and Helena. I need to get just like a little button that will tell me people's names, or can just remember them. I'll put you guys down here. Thank you so much. Congrats on 6 years, Jason. Big things coming. The Bustons. I'm gonna be back out traveling around soon. Let's. I was gonna say something about that though. The Bustons. Oh, so talk about people make fun of me. Someone told me that I mispronounced dirigible. They had no idea what I was talking about. Whenever I was said, let's climb on board the Dead Rabbit dirigible, no one told me that I've been mispronouncing it for 1,000 episodes. And someone goes, one day you mentioned it, you said you called it a big, beautiful blimp. And that's when they said, oh, he means a dirigible. So I've been wondering if I'm pronouncing these words correctly. Because Sabine always makes fun of me. She says it's not goblin, it's goblin. It's just one goblin. And then what's the other one? Necklace. She goes, it's not necklace, it's necklace. But whatever, I think she's wrong. I'm wondering if I'm pronouncing phenomenon right, because it sounds like that Muppet song. And I'm wondering entity. The entity walked through the door. I'm wondering if I'm getting that one right as well. So I will patiently wait for your comments to come through. Hey Maria, thanks for swinging on by. Really appreciate it. Spirit Chaser, thanks for coming on by as well. Really appreciate. About to sleep but looking good. Love your mysterious vids. Not a super chat, by the way. That's totally fine. No big deal. Carol Williamson, thank you for swinging on by. Really, really appreciate it. Really appreciate that story that was sent in the other day as well. Really, really appreciate it. Yes, Spirit Chaser, I did shave my head. I guess people who just coming in, they're like, what? Didn't expect that. Let's see here. Yeah, and Carol says there's some buffering. I don't know how much of that's on your side. It might be on my side. I do have a Dead Rabbit Radio business card. That's what Fabio was asking. I have to send out a bunch of stuff soon. And I'll include... Where's my... Here, I'm going to go get my business card, and I'm going to get some eye drops. Because my eyeballs hurt. Ow! That was me tripping. Let's see. Okay, and then a business card. That's the other thing I was getting at. You're like, wow, Jason. Super intrigued. Oh, here they are. Now, what happened? My eyes get so dry, and it's something about live streaming that like hurts my eyes. Rudy said, "Goblin, he's nuts." So here, Blitz Neo said 2 years ago I had to go to the mental hospital. Hope you're okay with me reading that one. On the day I got your Patreon stickers, you have helped me out so much. Big thing. Let me read this again. My eyes. Blitz Neo, 2 years ago, I had to go to a mental hospital. On that day, I got your Patreon stickers. You have helped me out so much. Big thank you for the show. I love stuff like that. Not you obviously going to the mental hospital, but because I think about the times when I was having a bad day or stuff didn't seem to be going right, and I would look forward to getting home and watching a particular YouTube channel or listening to a particular podcast. I remember before I was doing Dead Rabbit Radio, it was winter time. I've told this story before. It was winter, and I was sitting at home. It was cold outside. It was my day off, and I had the next day off. And I was playing Shadow of Mordor. That was the first one, right? That Lord of the Rings game. Shadow of Mordor. And I was listening to the podcast, which I had already listened to. This was the second time I was listening to the podcast, the Parapod. And I was playing this comfy game, listening to this comfy podcast. The weather outside was cold and dark, and that was the first time in a long time where I was happy. Like I was actually filled with joy. And I don't. Some people might think that's. Just, I tell that story to some people, and they're like, "Oh, that story sounded like." No, it's good. It's good that I found that thing, that combination of things. This podcast, the Parapod, is just two comedians talking about the paranormal. One was a complete skeptic, the other one believed everything. It's one of the big inspirations behind Dead Rabbit Radio. There's two episodes where they drive a Parapod taxi, not literally, but they do a ghost tour on the podcast. They're just like talking about all these different, and that's what gave me the idea for the Carpenter Copter and the Jason Jalopy was from them. Because I go, that'd be cool. If we're traveling from place to place in a story, let's have a vehicle for that. So, yeah, I love reading comments like that because then I get to be that for somebody else when they're not feeling good, when things are just kind of dour or, you know, very not going well in Blitz Neo's place at that point. Just to be that Parapod, just to be that game, just to be that. I love comments like that. Really appreciate it. But again, I'm not glad that you had to go through that stuff to get there. Kara Williamson wants to hear the sexy Sasquatch song. I don't remember it. We can put the episode. We should rerun that episode. I wonder. I'd have to look it up because to see where the Roy Orbison thing is. Now, depending on your, let me look through some of these comments here real quick. Well, if Nick J, if you pronounce words wrong, wait till you hear what the British call aluminum foil. They do call it something weird, don't they? Aluminium or something, or is that something totally different? Thanks. Yeah, Carol, since she stated it outright, Carol said, I loved how you told my story. Carol Williamson was the person who had the near-death experience that we covered on the 6-year anniversary episode. She had sent that to me like the night before. I think I read it either right before I went to bed or right when I woke up. And I messaged her halfway through the day and I said, I don't have time to comment on it because I was at work. But I said, can I use this for the podcast? Because at that point, once I realized it was the anniversary, I thought this would be a perfect time. And if Carol said no, sometimes people will send me stories and I'll ask if I can recover it. And they'll go, no, I'd appreciate it if you didn't. They just wanted to share it with someone. And that's fine. So I knew it was possible that she'd say no, but I thought that would be a great way for for the 6-year anniversary to do a listener story, to do a story from one of you guys to show that community. And it was an awesome near-death experience story. I'm actually thinking about going back and trying to find near-death experience stories where religion plays a significant part, where the person says, hey, I want you in heaven, but you got to go back to church. Not live a better life, but specific, because I don't know if those exist. And that's what I really loved about Carol's story. It really brought that to the forefront. Khaki Cube said, I only correct Jason's pronunciation when it comes to Midwestern towns. To be fair, Eau Claire is spelt, I guess it's French. I guess it's like Eau Claire. And to also be fair, when I was told after being alive for 47 years that it is not called Illinois, but Illinois, I have not made that mistake since. So if you guys are sensitive to a man putting eye drops in his eye, this is that part. Oh. So I have such dry eyes that sometimes you don't realize how dry it is until you put the drops in one eye and then the other eye feels like sandpaper because you just get so used to the... it's like, really... come on. I didn't get it in good. No, there you go. So this is preservative-free eye drops. You can put in as many as you... Are you going to have your eyes shut for the rest of the live stream? My eyes are shut. There's water streaming down my face. These are preservative-free because I have to put them in so often. Regular eye drops you can only put in like 2 or 3 times a day. Where's my drink? Here it is. I wonder if I can do a live. I can't do. I was like, can I do a live stream with my eyes closed? I have to read comments. That was like the big part of it. Where's my mouse? Okay. Odd Hybrid still waiting on the official Dead Rabbit Radio varsity jacket. I would love to have merch like that. I'm glad that we have the merch that we do. And then here's the business card, Fabio. I'll show you guys in a second. But it is limited. Like whenever I think of it, someone recently said, "Oh, dude, you should have Dead Rabbit Radio like lapel pins, like enamel pins." And I actually went and I was pricing them, but the thing is like I have a hard enough. Kelly needs a sticker. I know Kelly sent me their address over a while ago. I thought I went to go mail them. I don't have any stamps. I know that I bought stamps, but oh, hey, Joe, my eyes were closed. I didn't see Joe's donation. Joe Logan. Congratulations on 6 years. Your pronunciation of dirigible has ruined my brains forever. I can't say it right anymore. Caspian. That was my goal. That was my goal. Everyone's going to end up failing pronunciation test if those are things. Phenomenon is right. Goblin, this is coming from Kelly. Goblin is not. Yeah, the other day I was sitting there and I go, what's the difference between, because we always called it tinfoil when I was a kid. This isn't a Mandela effect. It used to be called tinfoil because I guess it really was made out of tin. And so if you grew up around old people, they still called it tinfoil, aluminum foil. Here, I'm going to pull up. I've been just looking at the notes. Let me pull up my live stream again. With my wet eye. It looked like I've been crying. That'll be the thumbnail of me going, and like tears streaming down my face. Here's my business card. Have I shown you guys this before? This is an old one. So this is when it still said the Daily Paranormal Conspiracy and True Crime Podcast. Because to be fair, it hasn't been that technically in a while. We don't cover enough true crime. And what would happen is I would tell people, they go, what type of podcast do you have? And I go, oh, Paranormal Conspiracy and True Crime. And they'd go, ooh, I love true crime. And I'm like, no, I'm talking about a guy who pours diarrhea on a woman's head at a bus stop. You're thinking about Ted Bundy. You want some deep dives into Jeffrey Dahmer. That's not what we do. We covered the weirdest, most disgusting true crime possible. A lot of cannibalism, a lot of Arby's-related crime. Surprisingly, that's its own subgenre. So I'm going to update this card. This is Dead Rabbit Radio. Ash Black, what a great logo. Really cool. Hey, let me pull the comments back up. Those disappeared. Where'd you go, man? Okay. So, let me get these down here. Rudy asked what I tripped over. It was the leg of the chair. YouTube, thank you so much for your donation. Really, really appreciate all this. Thanks, Jason, for the awesome show. Keep up the great work. I didn't even know the anniversary live was today. Glad I caught it in time. That 100% was my fault. What's funny is normally, I was thinking about this, I don't normally like post it on Twitter, post it on Patreon. I posted it. But this time I go, no, this is such last minute that I used all my socials. Because I was like, normally, like I'll say a couple weeks or at least the week before, because I know not everyone listens to every episode. I kind of have to say it a couple times. But this one I was like, let's put it on Patreon, put it on YouTube, put it, tweeted it, Instagrammed it, all that stuff. Let's see here. Coming down here, talking about Yogi Bear, I see. Hey, boo-boo. The missing 411. It was me. I don't know. People tell me that's a good Yogi Bear. Maybe they're just humoring me. Here's the business card. It's silk. It's like a smooth print. Because here's the funny thing. I've started a lot of businesses in my life. Not all of them. Different levels of success, right? Short term, long term, mostly short term. I'm good about I have this affinity for business cards. I'm like that whole Patrick Bateman. And so when I was designing this card, when I had it designed, Sabine's like, I don't know about that. And I said, listen, I've done a lot of business cards in my life. I know what you need to put on a business card. We'll get to the story has a point. But the first thing is I said, I'm going to pay extra money to have this smooth silk paper. So what it is that, and it's happened nearly every time, when I hand my business card to someone, they touch it and they go, ooh. They all make that noise because it feels soft. It feels like a little baby blanket. but it's a business card. So after I said, I know how to design a business card, but but how do I know what I'm doing? So here's the beginning. Hey, Prolo, thanks for swinging on by. No, I think Prolo's joking. But Prolo says, Jason, have you been crying? No, I was putting eye drops in earlier. Um, the Dead Rabbit Radio card. This is the front. This is the back. People, there's a reason for this. This is the back. Now, if you can't see it, there's at least 30 words? 30 words on it. It says Jason Carpenter, paranormal investigator. This is all on the back of a business card. Jason Carpenter, paranormal investigator. Because you don't identify yourself as a podcaster. There's nothing people they don't hate podcasters, they're just not interested by them. But a paranormal investigator, that'll get some conversation started. Jason Carpenter, paranormal investigator. It says personal investigations include shadow men, demonic possessions, stuff that I've looked into like physically. Demonic possessions, the blue boy. Now imagine. I'm not even halfway through. Imagine someone gives you this card and they're like, what? What's the blue boy? I don't even want to know. I don't want to know what the blue boy is. Shadow Men, demonic possessions, the blue boy, the Bodox, which is what I call those big dog things. Wasco Street, which in Hood River is just a street. We were like, huh? It's like you hand this to someone in California, they're like, what's Wasco Street? That sounds intriguing. But around here, they're like, the Frisbee golf course? Are you talking about the Frisbee golf course? Why is that on the back of your paranormal card? Shadowman, demonic possessions, the blue boy, Bodox, Wasco Street. You know how I'm always talking about that time I fought a witch, Jason fought a witch, where I laid the salt out in front of the door and then the woman couldn't enter the house for like 20, 30 minutes? That's on the back of my business card. I called it the Witch War. Because that sounds a lot better than I poured salt on a witch. So those are my personal investigations. And then underneath it, and this kind of is related to Spirit Chasers, next question. The ongoing investigations include Mormon, Bigfoot. So here's the thing. When you get this card, you flip it over and you're like, this is nonsense. I need to know more about this. This is nuts. And I honestly think I'm going to redesign the card. I'm going to take out the first part. Personal investigations include. Because it's not as eye-catching. But imagine if someone handed you a business card and it said, Jason Carpenter, paranormal investigator. Or your name. Obviously, unless your name is Jason Carpenter. Paranormal investigator, cases investigated include, or something like that. And the next thing you see is Mormon Bigfoot. You'd be like, what in the world is this? The first ones, those are legit things that I've investigated, right? Demonic possessions, the blue boy. Next card is just going to say ongoing investigations include, these are amazing. Mormon Bigfoot, monkeys don't exist. I should just have a card that says monkeys don't exist and my contact information on the back, honestly. Mormon Bigfoot, monkeys don't exist. The Conformers, which is not an evocative title, but that is such a weird paranormal story. Mountains are trees. I think that one might be a little too, like you can tell that in 30 seconds, but it might not be as evocative as Mormon Bigfoot. Or monkeys don't exist. And then I have the Black Bedrooms and Barbara Bolick. Barbara Bolick is probably my favorite missing person story. The Black Bedrooms is that phenomenon where people are waking up. It seems we've found quite a few of these. And they're in some dark universe or some other odd things going on. So we're getting, this is the business card. Fabio, it's so funny you guys asked like a little question. I was like, for the next 10 minutes, here's the business card. We're going to redesign it. This is just going to say the Daily Paranormal Podcast, which is perfect. That's all you need. And on the back, I'm going to take out the Wasco Street and all that. It's just going to say ongoing investigations include Mormon Bigfoot, monkeys don't exist, blah, blah, blah. It's funny. So my only contact information on the back of the card is my email address. So anyways, when I was designing this, Sabine goes, I get it. You say that you've designed hundreds of business cards, maybe not that many, but dozens of business cards in your life. This is not designed well. You have a ton of information on the back. You only have an email address. It's like you're trying to be mysterious, not to be contacted. There's not even like a web address for the podcast, but That's not how people really listen to podcasts. The ad on the export goes to a .com, but generally people go to like their podcast search. And now she goes, you need to get a QR code on the back. That is something that I've never been. I very rarely, if ever, use QR codes, but I guess everyone uses them now. So I'm going to get a Dead Rabbit Radio QR code. I'm going to clean that up a bit, but there's that. And then Spirit Chaser's question was, what's the craziest story you ever heard? That's such a hard one. It can honestly vary from topic to topic, and I would argue from month to month. Just on the back of that card, right? Mormon Bigfoot's absolutely insane. If you step back and think that if this story's true, if the story of Mormon Bigfoot is true, then Cain from Cain and Abel is Bigfoot. If you accept the story as a true scenario, then that is what that implies. So you've completely shaken the idea of what Bigfoot is and why the government would be hiding the appearance of Bigfoot, all that stuff. Because apparently, it's been a long time since I've read the book of Genesis, but when Cain is cursed after he kills his brother, it is said that you will never be able to harvest the land. Basically, you're going to have to be a forager for the rest of your life. And it's not just that Cain was punished, but all of his descendants. So it would explain why there are tribes of Bigfoot. They're actually the direct descendants of Cain from the Bible. If that story is true, and if we take it, and my microphone's been tilted over for most of this time. Sorry, guys. Probably making it worse doing this. Everyone's ears are bleeding. So I didn't. That's one of the crazy stories, if you accept it on its face. Now, if it's not, if he just saw a regular talking Bigfoot, which those are rare, we have a cryptid that is recognized by a major religion. A modern day cryptid. So either way, that story is absolutely bizarre. If it actually is Cain from the Bible, totally changes everything we know about Bigfoot. If it wasn't Cain from the Bible, it was just a talking Bigfoot who said he was Cain from the Bible. Technically, he said, I am the one who will wander and to drive men into sin or something like that. Or even if Bigfoot was the devil or some sort of demon, totally changes things. That's one of the craziest stories. Craziest true crime, sex vampire cult of Yerba Buena. You had an entire city taken over by people pretending to be ancient gods. Were they Mayan, trying to be Mayan gods? And they were eating people, and the police had to bring in like armored vehicles, and there was this huge shootout, the whole city versus the police. And it happened like in the 80s or something. We're not talking about like in the 1800s. It's a fairly recent story. Absolutely fascinating stuff. Barbara Bolick, missing person story is totally insane. When you look at the conspiracy theories like monkeys don't exist, nutty stuff. So yeah, it's I try to find weird stuff for the show. So I don't know what would be the craziest. Like as far as like what's been the craziest thing we've covered recently, would probably be, it was, what was it, this week or last week, about the guy who thinks that the Canadian government is sending vampires to churches of unvaccinated people. I love that. So awesome. That is fantastic. Fantastic paranormal conspiracy theory. You 100% could have written that as a comic book or a short story. But there's a guy who believes that. And I was like, this has to be a troll. This is so perfect. And I just came across that a couple weeks ago. So it's really hard for me to say what the craziest is. Let's see here. Is Rudy? It looks like, yeah, I know. What happens is I pause and I don't read any of the comments, and then I try to catch up. Let's see. Carol says that she's in the best shape of her life. She was the one who had the near-death experience lately. And so that's awesome. You can always start back over. I feel right now at my age that it's either going to start the decline or it's going to peak. I'm not talking about like professional. I'm not talking about personality, my health. And I feel like I have to start moving more, which I actually am. I do walk a lot, but I'm like, no, you got to do more. You just 20 minutes more of working out a day, and then more in the future. But yeah, I'm really trying to fight that because I don't want to be unhealthy. I know I always complain about a stomach ache or I'll have like this ailment or that ailment. Most of it is relatively minor stuff. I mean, I do get strep throat. You could hear my throat draining in that one episode. Um, let's see here. Yeah, Denzo says it's nice when you let some true crime slip in. Yeah, and again, I try to find the weird ones. I have this story ready to go for years at this point about the guy who got so tired of people breaking into his house that he hid in the basement of his house and he set up a video camera. The guy did to like, I'm going to videotape these guys breaking into my house, and it was like teenagers, but they were like 18 and 19. It was a guy and a girl. And the dude laid in wait in the basement when they came down the stairs. He murdered both of them and he caught himself on video. And he's in prison for murder. Like, I get, like, they're laying on the ground and they're like begging for their lives. And he's like, I hate thieves. Dude, maybe if you were planning on murdering them, not to set up the camera. That was a really crazy true crime story. But again, like, I've had that ready to go for maybe 3 or 4 years. Like, the notes are all typed up, but I was like, I find it super intriguing. I'll record some of it and go, I can't really tell this in an interesting way. Like, see how I told the whole thing in 30 seconds? I could tell that story longer. And really, I mean, like him shooting them in the basement, it was far scarier than that. I guess the guy came down first and he shot the guy, and the girl was still at the top of the stairs and she heard something happened in the basement. She didn't know what it was. So she came downstairs and he shot her while she was still on the stairs, and she fell down on top of her partner's body. And then he finished him off, like headshots. So it's like, it would be scary in that sense, right? Just like a typical horror movie. But yeah, it's all about finding the balance, the true crime. But yeah, for a while there, I was doing true crime on Wednesdays, to kind of give it a middle of the week thing. Let's see here. Good night, Rudy. I know Rudy already left, but Carol, I love it when you crack yourself up. Yeah, again, like that's probably the number one complaint that I get about the show. But sometimes, especially early on, I was trying to figure out what the show was like. What is Dead Rabbit Radio? And sometimes you do get these weird tonal things. I try not to crack a bunch of jokes, obviously, if I'm talking about certain types of subjects. And then sometimes I'll crack a joke about not cracking jokes during a certain type of subject, and it all gets edited out. Generally, that stuff comes out in that creative process. But yeah, someone left a review lately, and they're like, why is he laughing? Why is he laughing? And none of this is funny. 1 star or whatever it was. No stars or something like that. And then other people are like, oh, I love it when you crack yourself up. But again, there are some episodes that I'll listen to and I go, wow, I really like that story. It was entertaining, but it's not a funny episode. People who are coming to listen to a funny episode, this isn't going to be one. Khaki Cube, the Blue Boy was the... I reran the episode lately, but again, I know you guys don't listen to every episode. You don't have to, for sure. It was this ghost that I encountered down in Sacramento. He was blue. Like, he had this blue glow. He had like blue facial features, blue clothes, like this faint blue glow around him. And this ghost would follow me around. Like, I saw him at my grandma's house. First, I saw him in the middle of the road. And he was in the back seat of my car for like a split second. See him at my grandma's place. I see him at work. That was really getting paranoid about what this thing was. I mean, I figured it was a ghost, but I put that episode in the show. We don't do show notes for these, do we? I guess we do. But yeah, I think it was the first anniversary special was the first time I brought up the Blue Boy. And I think it's funny because a lot of times when I do the reruns, the Retro Rabbits, people are like, I reran that one recently, the 1 year anniversary. People are like, congratulations, 1 year. And I was like, oh yeah, this episode's old. This episode's from 2019. So that was the Blue Boy. Prolo says, I got to hear the witch story. Will you tell it? There is an episode where we did talk about it. Jason fights a witch. Basically, I mean, like, the short version is that I was living with this girl and her dad was dating a witch. And he was like, I'm dating a witch, right? I'm dating a witch. Like he would, it was like a bragging thing. And I'd be like, why? That'd be like me going, I'm dating a Mormon. I'm dating a Mormon. Like, okay, so what? I mean, she was cute. He would have been better off bragging that he had a cute girlfriend. But, anyways, he was like always bragging that he was dating a witch. And I was like, whatever. Well, the witch didn't like me, right? Which is totally fine. I know I might come off super likable on the show, but I can be very caustic personality, especially more back then. And nowadays I've leveled out. I just don't care as much about stuff that before I'd be like, what? You like Jurassic Park? You like that movie Last Action Hero is way better, and here's why. For the next 20 minutes, I'm going to explain why Jurassic Park sucked. I wasn't that bad when I met the witch. But anyways, she didn't like me. She gave off this real negative energy. I thought she was just really stuck up, witch or not. And my friend didn't like her either. And when her dad was dating her, we were sitting at the house one day, and I said, "Dude, you know what we should do?" Be fair, I was pretty stoned. This is back when I was smoking too. I was like, "Dude, you know what we should do? Witches or evil in general hates salt. They can't pass by a salt barrier. Let's salt the front door. Let's pour some salt out in the front, right by the front door, and see if she can cross the salt." And my friend is like, "Dude, totally awesome." So we're basically looking for salt. I think we just had like Morton's table salt, but I'm sure this will do. Sure, this will work. And we did. We put a big pile of salt right where the front door is. And I remember we debated over whether or not we should cover it with the welcome mat. Because I said, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, if she sees this salt, she is going to be, it's basically a hate crime, right? She's going to be super offended because she's going to know what we're doing. So, we salted. I don't remember if we put the doormat over it because I was like, it would cover it up, but I go, but that might break the line. Because technically it's not just a layer of salt. So we're sitting there and we hear the car pull up with her dad and the witch. They pull up into the front yard and we're just like, they went out shopping. They were gone for like an hour or two. It's not like they just went around the block. We're like, oh my God, dude, what's going to happen? And we wait. Now it's like 5 minutes maybe they've been sitting in the driveway. We're like, what in the world's going on? Why it's taking them so long to walk from the driveway into the house? And then eventually the door opens up and her dad comes in. Just her dad. And he's like looking for something you're doing. And we're like, hey, how was your shopping trip to Lowe's or whatever? And he's just like, oh, I just came in to get something. And he goes back out. And then another maybe 5 or 10 minutes pass, whatever it is. And I was like, she has not come in yet. Basically, the only way she can get into the house now is to climb through a window or come all the way around back, open the gate up, and come through the sliding glass door. So me and Kara were like, what? That was my friend's name. I didn't mean to say her name. But anyways, me and Kara were sitting there, and I go, dude, you need to go and find out. You need to go and find out why she's not coming through this door. And Kara gets up and walks out there, and she comes back. She goes, they're having a huge fight. They're having a huge fight. I go, about what? And she's like, nothing, just, stupid stuff. Well, eventually, the dad comes back in, and then the witch comes back in. And listen, it's been a long time since it happened. It was maybe they were out there for an additional 20 minutes, half hour, maybe even longer before she crossed that line of salt. And I started to think, and I think this is what Kara was thinking too, that she might have sensed it. She might have been repelled and she didn't know what the situation was. So she was acting out in other ways, this witch. Super weird. I mean, again, like I expected her honestly to come in and say, why'd you guys salt the house? I can see salt everywhere. I was planning on making French fries for you guys tonight, but no salt. It seemed to have worked in a way. Now, again, it could just be a coincidence. She wasn't a super kind person to be around, at least my experience. She was very snooty. And Kara's dad was very down to earth. He's like a worker type guy, building stuff. And so it could have just been that she was always in a bad mood, but it could have just been that. So that's the witch story in a nutshell. Angela Brogan, happy to have you here as well. Just joining into the live stream. Let's see here. Bix Bungo, thanks for the compliment on the shaved head. Let's see, and I'm seeing the compliments on the business card. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, we're gonna do. Hey, Vaccine, glad you're able to swing on by. We're gonna do the QR code. So see, this is. I'm still reading the comments from the old business card thing, and now I'm gonna catch up to the current comments. But yeah, thank you guys for swinging on by. Khaki Cube, I think the recent GameStop episode might be cursed because after I listened to it, people kept talking to me about the GameStop stock thing. That was so hard for me to say. I kept messing up. GameStop stock. That was a weird episode. That was an episode, and I don't know how many people picked up on it. Because I wanted to I didn't use the person's username in that episode. I know that might sound like a little thing, because obviously all the show notes list it. But I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a direct attack on that person. Not saying that they were stupid or insane or anything like that. I was like, well, I like to include my work. I like to include my notes so other people can go, whoa, Jason, you actually got this wrong. Or that was really interesting. I want to research more about it. If I didn't include where I'm getting my stories, it's a bit harder. But see, it's interesting because like Carol's story about the near-death experience, there's nothing to link to. I wasn't going to post her email because that was a correspondence between her and I. If she wanted to post the story somewhere, send me the link. That's totally fine. But I didn't want to like screenshot an email, stuff like that. There was a story recently. It was an episode that was really rough. It was the episode about the woman who had the vision of the father killing his daughter, and it didn't happen until years later. She kept having this vision. And then finally the father killed the daughter. And I think I got something wrong in that episode. I bandied about whether or not to fix it, but I go, did I get it wrong or not? I said that every time she had the vision, it was a different way of killing the daughter. And then when I reread it, it just says the visions were different than the way he eventually ended up killing her. So maybe she envisioned him beating her with a baseball bat each time, and then he shot her in the end. For some reason, I go that the visions were different each time. Anyways, those are those little decisions. Like when I was editing it, I was like, do I correct this or is there nothing to correct? And that's where it comes down to like posting show notes. That was one too. And I go, well, if anyone has any questions about that, they can check it out as well. They'll be able to check my work because I could easily just make stuff up if there wasn't links to anything. Sometimes you're going to get stories you can't link to, like Carol's story, or the story about those young kids that their friend was driving down the road and that crawler was in the middle of the road and got stuck in a time loop. There's nothing to link to on that because that was email correspondence. But for the most part, I like having those links there. Let's see. Gumball Fan 172, thanks for swinging on by. Hey, I did have an experience I asked you about and received no answer. Basically, I walked in my room one time and saw a strange face on TV. I don't remember that comment. It might have been in the YouTube. It might have been an email. It would depend really on what the face was. I remember for the longest time I had a photo on my computer, and it was a photo of my television set with a perfectly framed human face sticking out of it. Like it was just from the forehead down to the nose, and it was the eyes, and it looked to be looking off screen. It was an eerie photo, and I would show it to people from time to time. I go, I don't remember taking. Why would I take a picture of my television set, and how did this appear? And then I think finally, after a couple months, I realized it was a commercial. I was, for whatever, maybe I really liked the commercial. Maybe I was testing out my phone camera or what, but there was a commercial at the time that was part of the commercial, was a close-up of a guy's face. It could be something like that. When you say strange face, I don't, if it looked like the devil, right? If it's a devil's face and he's addressing you by name, that might be different than if it's just like a weird glitch. I'm surprised we don't get more paranormal stories involving television sets, especially when they were all over the air, like VHF, UHF. for a couple of reasons. One, television played such a pivotal part for a good chunk of modern life, and they are susceptible to glitches and interference and communication. I'm surprised we don't get more stories related to televisions freaking out, both of a technical cause and a paranormal cause. Let's see here. More talk about the laughing. And then, yeah, here's Angela. Oh, right. I'm down to the bottom. Angela Brogan's comment. I'm so happy I caught a live. We're happy to have you here. I'm glad you're able to be here. Let's see here. Big Spungo, have you visited the area of the Haunted Pants location again recently? No, the Haunted Pants location was Kelly. Yeah, that was an older episode. Master of Ellipses, have a great day. Thanks for swinging on by. The Burnt Pants was out in Dyer Lane. That was down in Sacramento. Modius, thank you so much. Yes, happy birthday to Dead Rabbit Radio. And I Live in Your Walls. We got a happy birthday from them as well. And TG4463. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys being here. Really, really appreciated that. Burnt Pants. Haunted Pants. I don't think they were haunted. I mean, they might have been, right? I might have been slightly possessed by a pair of jeans. The Burnt Pants was out in Dyer's Lane, which is out in Sacramento, out in the Antelope area. It would be interesting to see what it was like out there. I probably could do a Google Earth. I'm sure it's exactly the same. It's just all rural. But that story, in short, was there was a place that was supposedly haunted, Dyer Lane, and we would go out there all the time, either ghost hunting or just because it was fun, or to fight, right? It was a good place to fight. There's no cops out there. Anyways, I found a pair of burnt pants. And I was like, this is the beginning of a mystery, guys. You guys don't understand. Somebody, the mystery of who burnt these pants. And they're like, Jason, it's just a pair of burnt pants. And I was like, no, it's more than that. This is a mystery. This is possibly a murder we will solve. Well, I didn't know this, but apparently I was acting erratically. Can you believe that? Me? Just because I was talking about burnt pants all the time when I'm at work. I was like, you know what? Sales figures, boo. Let's talk about the burnt pants. I'm at Circuit City. I'm wearing them around. Do you guys know where these came from? No, my friends, two of my really good friends at the time, I didn't know about this. They told me years later, but they thought I was going to murder them. They said that I was acting really weird, even for me. And I kept talking about going out to Dyer Lane. We had to investigate the burnt pants. We got to figure out what's going on with the burnt pants. And they legit thought I was going to murder them. They were actually having conversations. My two buddies, it was Mauricio and Steve. Steve, I still listens to the podcast. Mauricio, I haven't seen in years, possibly because they haven't found the body because I murdered him. No, Steve and Mauricio apparently were having phone calls behind the scenes being like, dude, I think Jason's going to murder us tonight. And I'm so scared. I don't want to hang out with him. I know if he's going to take us out there, he's going to burn our pants. Then he's going to be walking around. He's like, where did I find these 3 burnt pairs of pants? Hey, guys, you want to go on a ghost hunt? And the next day I have like 5 pairs of burnt pants. They were afraid I was going to murder them. And what happened when we just drove out? I didn't know any of this, right? These guys in my car thought I was going to kill them, like legit was worried that I was going to murder them. And I was just like, hey, man, let's go to like Froster Freeze, get a blizzard, yummy, yummy. And we'll just drive around. We're going to investigate the burnt pants. So apparently, I keep using that word apparently. We end up driving out to Dyer Lane, and I like push some stuff around with a big stick and go, I don't know, mysteries, whatever. Where did the burnt pants come from? I don't know. Got back in the car and we left. And they didn't get murdered, right? They didn't get killed. A bunch of crybabies thinking their friend's going to kill them and leave their bodies out in the middle of nowhere. Years later, we probably did go out to dinner after that. We probably did get a blizzard, but it was a long time later. It wasn't like that night. Steve was like, we thought you were going to murder us because you kept acting so weird about those stupid burnt pants and you wanted to go to Dyer's Lane. You kept wanting to go out there. And I go, well, why did you, I'm all laughing as he's telling me this. He's like, we seriously thought you were going to murder us. I'm all, laughing hella hard. I go, if you thought I was going to murder you, why did you guys get in the car and go with me out in the middle of nowhere? And he goes, Because we thought you were going to murder us. You were going to murder us one way or another. There's nothing we could do. I mean, I guess maybe he figured they would take me on. They'd fight me off or something like that and leave me, throw a pair of burnt pants on me. And they're like, who's the burnt pants now? Blah. I would have just not. I would have been like, sorry, bro. Can't go out with you tonight. Anything, literally anything else. I'm not going to let myself get murdered. There was this, when I was living in that house with Kara way back in the day. This was where we fought the witch. I don't know if I ever told this story. Sometimes I've learned as I've gotten older that people, and I don't like prop this up. I'm not like edgy, super edgy Joker man. Although I did. Let me grab my Joker jacket for this story. Maybe this will help. I found this jacket at Goodwill the other day. I know people on the podcast are like, I'm doing my dishes. I can't wait. So I got this dope jacket. And some people may say it's a woman's jacket. And it might be. It might be. But I like it. It's like a long jacket. You know, I don't know. Now I'm going to take it off because it's hot. I just did all that to show you. I have my Joker jacket. So anyways, I've learned sometimes people think that I'm crazy. People think that I'm crazy. Thanks, Joe. Yeah. The pimp jacket, TG4463. Thanks. Yeah, and I got my SpongeBob Prolo. I think people sometimes think I'm crazier than I am. I don't describe myself as crazy. Khaki Cube, thank you so much for the donation. I've had a blast. Let me write down Cube here. I've had a blast with every episode so far, and I'm looking forward to what else is out there. Listening to this podcast reminds me the world is rarely boring. Thank you for being a great source of entertainment and intrigue. Thank you, Cat. Oh, wait. Can I hit these buttons? What? Does everybody have one of those? Am I supposed to have been doing that? These little hearts? What? What? Oh, I didn't. Oh, now I feel kind of like a bonehead. I guess when people donate, a little heart thing shows up. Sorry about that. Thank you, Jonathan Douglas. Really, really appreciate it. Jonathan Douglas, happy Dead Rabbit Radio anniversary, Jason. A little rabbit face. Appreciate that. Fabio said this, and I agree. Jackets for men have buttons on one side. That's what I thought too. But this one, either I have two jackets for women, or they put the buttons on the wrong side. TG4463, thank you so much for your donation. And you guys will all get your shout outs and get to pilot the Carpenter Copter and the other vehicles when the upcoming episodes. Long live Dead Rabbit Radio, says Dead Rabbit, says TG4463. People think I'm crazier. People think that I'm crazy, and I'm not, I guess. And then I remember one time, this was during Avatar. I might have told this story before. When I was living with Kara, Avatar came out, and me and two of my friends, who were more of like Kara's friends, right? Like we were just getting to know each other. We'd known each other for a couple months. We all went to go see Avatar. I fell asleep. I didn't really like that movie too much. But the other two guys, we all saw it. We all knew what it was about. So anyways, one day it was Matt and what was the other guy's name? They were both young. They were both probably like 22. At this point, I would have been like 30 something. Anyways, they went out to go to the grocery store. So they're going to be gone for maybe like 10, 20 minutes. And I go, oh, do you know it'd be super funny? I do not know the sequence of events how I did this. But basically, I had access to enough blue body paint or blue paste or something that I covered myself in blue goo. Stinkbug Potato, thank you so much for the donation. Really appreciate it. It is a samurai cat saying you're amazing with cannons, with leg cannons and apparently sparklers as well. I love that. Really, really appreciate that. Stink bug potato. We will get you into the shout outs. Very generous donation. Really appreciate that. To make a long story short, I pretended I was an Avatar guy and I jumped out from the darkness when they came back holding a stick and went, ah, yeah, da, 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 did the Avatar language. And I thought their reaction would be, oh, you made us jump. Oh. We didn't expect to see a giant guy dressed in blue, wearing blue. Where'd you get all that blue paint at? Stinkbug Potato, I love this show. Thank you for all that you do. Happy anniversary. Thank you. I mean, again, the show, what would it be without listeners, without people supporting it? It would have lasted a week or two, right? It's about a community. It's not about. I really do believe that. I think that's what's so great about this show is having that feedback. TG4463 is how did I wash off the blue paint? I don't. Again, this was in my copious amounts of weed stage of my life. But I jumped out from behind the table or jumped out from behind the corner and went, ah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, have this big, long, pointed stick because I just always had those laying around. Like I have a collection of them right over there. And those two guys, they went, oh. And the look on their face was not like, oh, you got us. The look on their face was like, we're about to get murdered. And so I keep going, ah, yeah, and they're just like frozen. Right? Like at this point, a good 5-10 seconds have passed. They're not like, oh, good one, Jason. They're all, ah. And I go, what? I go, guys, it's me. It's Jason. And they're like, Matt goes, we know it's you. We know they just went out to the grocery store. And Matt had told me, he goes, dude, me and my friend, I forgot his name, call him Jerry. Matt goes, Jason, me and Jerry were just talking the other day about we think you might murder us one of these days. And I started laughing. He goes, no, it was not a funny conversation. We thought that I guess they were just sitting there one day and they thought, you know what, if Jason wanted to, he could totally kill both of us. Matt's like, yeah, I was thinking about that too. So when I jumped out of the darkness with this big stick painted blue, they thought, he goes, I thought I was dead. That's why I froze. He goes, and I'm laughing. He keeps going, it's not funny. It's not funny, Jason. He goes, I legit thought you were going to murder me. No joke. No joke. So anyways, I think people think that, especially back then, I think people think that I was crazier than I actually am. I don't think I'm that crazy. I think think people have used the term permastoner around me. It's just I smoked so much early on. My thought process is still like that. But I don't think I'm crazy. I think because I talk about stuff that most people, I don't know. I definitely wouldn't think that any of my friends think I am going to murder them. I think that is a fair one. Yeah, Khaki, you've not heard that term before, permastones. It's just you don't smoke anymore, but you smoked so much previously that your brain is like, dude, so if a cat is colorblind, which I found out the other day, and a dog's colorblind, actually, I have nothing profound from that, but kind of getting stuck in that mindset. Yeah, Kelly. Kelly wrote, okay, so all your friends believe you are a psycho killer. Noted. I remember once I was at a drive-thru. No, I was driving around North Highland. All these stories kind of take place in the same 10-year time period. I was driving around North Highlands and I saw one of my buddies, Jason, at a Jack in the Box drive-in. His car is just like in line to go through the drive-in. I was in my car with somebody, a mutual friend. They knew Jason as well. There might have been a couple of people in my car, but we're driving by and I go, dude, there's Jason. Jason's over there in the line. And I lean out the car as I'm driving and I go, I'm gonna effing kill you. I'm coming. I'm gonna kill you. You better watch your back. Or you're a dead man. You're dead, I tell you. And then I just drive away, right? I'm all I was laughing and I go, obviously, Jason's going to be like, oh, Carpenter's such a rascal. What a goofy thing to yell in public in front of 50 witnesses. I'm going to murder you. Well, then a couple days later, no, it's longer than that. It's like a week or two later, someone's like, dude, what's your problem with Jason? Like, Jason's totally freaking out. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, apparently he seems to believe that you threatened to murder him. And I go, oh, no, I totally did. It was just a joke, man. I was just having fun. A bunch of our friends are in the car. They all knew I was joking around. And they're like, well, he doesn't. Jason is afraid you're going to murder him. You did yell in front of multiple people you were going to kill him quickly. And again, I'm just laughing the whole time. I was like, I was just joking. I was just kidding around. So yeah, there was a period in time where he like went home and like talked to his friends, and he's like, "Oh my god, I think Jason's lost it. I think he's going to murder me." And they're like, "Why would he? Why would you think that?" Well, because he yelled it multiple times at a Jack in the Box as I was sitting at a Jack in the Box drive-through. So, but again, those are funny things. Those are fun. David James goes, "I can't imagine why your friends think you're going to murder them." To be fair, I didn't threaten to murder Steve and Mauricio. They just thought I was possessed by a pair of pants. I did yell at Jason that I was going to murder him. I was going to murder him. Did I ever tell you the story? I know I should probably stop telling these criminal stories. There was some issue that had come up. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna leave out a bunch of details on this one. We're gonna skip past the ramp up. There was this guy though who I was telling everyone I'm going to beat him up. I'm gonna beat him up. No, you know what? I'm actually not going to tell that. I was like, pretty much the only way I can tell that story for public consumption, I have to remove everything. The long and the short version is me and this guy had this long running beef, and then I was telling everyone I was going to beat him up. Like I put the word out. I was like, I'm done. We're done with this, right? I'm going to handle this. And I put it out to enough people that I knew it would get back to him. So it was going to have to come down to physical confrontation, or someone was going to have to leave the area. Now, both of us didn't really have the means to do that. Well, anyways, what happened was I was headed to a party, and somebody goes, there's this big party. It was at its apartment complex. And somebody goes, oh, cool, Jason's coming. And the dude was there. The other guy was there. And he goes, what? They go, like, yeah, Jason's coming. He's going to hang out. You know him? Do you know that guy? Yeah, I know that guy. He's been telling everyone that he's going to fight me. Like, he's going to just beat me to a bloody pulp. He's coming to this party. And my friend who was there, who was the host of the party, said, we had to keep him. This is going to sound overly dramatic. Like, again, I'm not like some Billy Badass, but they go, he wanted to jump off of like the deck of the second story apartment complex. They're like, no. You don't know Jason. He's not going to do anything to you. He talks a big game. He's not going to do anything to you. Now, that's not necessarily true, but, you know, sometimes. Anyways, I end up going to the party, but I had pre-gamed. Someone else drove me. I pre-gamed. I was drunk when I showed up at the party. I didn't recognize him. I didn't recognize this guy that I was telling everyone. I was like, oh, put the word out to him. And I thought he was somebody else. And I was like, oh, come here, buddy. Oh, man, I haven't seen you in so long. I'm all hugging him and stuff like that. What's up? And the dude was like, what? This guy is insane. Jason is nuts. He tells everyone for months that he's going to beat me up the second he sees me. And then he comes in, he gives me a hug. It's like, hey, buddy, what's going on? And my friend who was hosting the party goes, that's Jason. Like, you just can't predict what he's going to do. Maybe he would have clobbered you. I just didn't want you to jump out of a second-story apartment. Because what happened was I stayed the night there. And the next day, I was sitting there all hungover, and someone else came. The host knew about all this stuff. They were just keeping the peace. But someone else came to the party and was like, hey, dude, what happened with you last night and that other dude? And I go, what? They're like, that guy you've been talking about beating up for 3 or 4 months. What happened? I was like, I don't know. I didn't see him. And they're like, he was at the party. And I go, what? They go, he was at the party, you moron. He was apparently, I guess other people said, hey, that never happened. Jason showed up and started hugging this guy. He's like, oh yeah, give him hugs. And I sat there, and then it dawned on me. I remember walking in and seeing this guy sitting on the couch, and he did not look super comfortable. Like, he didn't want to be there because he thought he was going to get clobbered. And I go, oh, you're right. That was the guy. That was the guy. And what's funny was that after that, I really kind of had to drop it I'm gonna be like, I hugged you that time, but next time we see you, I'm gonna punch you in the face. One of the kids, like at that point, I could no longer threaten a guy because it would just be even more insane. So we just kind of dropped it. Crazy stuff. High school. That wasn't high school. That was college stuff. But moreover, 223 says, not gonna lie, I've done the same thing to my friends if I saw them in public. It is funny to just yell, I'm gonna murder you, especially if they know you're joking. Like I think that's kind of implied. If it's a stranger, then I think it should be a bigger thing. Carol Williamson dipped out but is back. Kelly Adams. Oh, Jason, by the way, quit calling yourself a boomer. Well, you know what's funny? That's just like the slang term. Yeah, I am Gen X. Oh, look at these little emotes I can do. Doop. Yeah, it's so funny. Basically, I just go with the boomer thing because it's pretty much all the older crowd, as you might call them. Bam Jr. Being a big guy is often more of a stigma than other people think. It's hard to make physical jokes when you're clearly visibly a threat. You know, that's fair. My dad told me when I was a kid, he said, people are always going to want to fight you because you're a big guy. People are going to want to fight you because if you take down a big guy, he goes, you have to learn how to fight. That's what he was telling me as a kid. He goes, you have to learn how to fight because people are going to assume you can fight as a big guy, and people are constantly going to be throwing you on the ground and beating you up. So they have the bragging rights. Say, look at that big guy I beat up. He goes, basically, you can either lose weight and shave off some of your bones or learn how to fight. He goes, because you're going to be fighting for most of your life. And I think that's true. I think that if you look, like Bam Jr. said, if you appear to be a threat, it is different. It is different. But I don't feel like I'm a threat. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, like physically, I don't think I'm physically imposing because this is the only body I've really ever inhabited. You know, that's all that I got. So, like, other people, like, will say, oh, Jason, you got a real broad chest or your shoulder. And when I look at other guys, it's like they're just as wide as I am, not like weight wise, but like, you know, shoulder wise. I think most guys are broad shouldered. But yeah, no, that is correct. If some guy who was 180 pounds was yelling at you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to murder you, probably doesn't have the same, like, if the guy's like 250. Well, guys, we started this at 1. So I think I said these guys normally last about 2 hours. I think we've kind of coming towards the end. I have to figure out I know why my mouth gets dry, but I don't know why my eyes hurt whenever I live stream. Like, I actually, if you go back and rewatch this live stream with all the commercials I'm going to add in, no, I was just joking. They have a thing where you can have commercials run in the middle of the live stream. I don't know if that's happened because I shut it off. I was like, that'd be lame. Like mid-sentence, all of a sudden a Geico ad starts playing. During the live stream, they might get edited if you're listening to it afterwards, but you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, so with the eyes, Kaki says too much glare. It's maybe. I think part of it was originally watching myself. Like, I have to shut off the video of me because I think that does something where it's basically there's a delay, however so slight, that's throwing off my eyes. My eyes hurt. If you rewatch this, you know what was that Red Tree Crime? I watch their videos all the time. They take police interrogation videos and break them down mentally. I bet you could do something with this podcast, with this video, if you look closely, because there was a point in time where I started having an anxiety attack, and it lasted a good like 5 to 10 minutes. I'll give you a hint. It was when I started taking the Tums. I was actually, and I wonder how much of a physiological, if you could see that. I started getting really bad acid reflux, and my eye, like, think about all the stuff I did. This is how I have to treat, like, when I have an anxiety attack. What happens is my brain is racing along for whatever reason, and I start to try to treat physical responses to it. Harbinger Solution, you have a safe hike. Headed on out. You have a great night, and I'm glad you were able to swing on by. I started having I started having an anxiety attack, and I go, okay, let's take this apart one by one. First, treat the acid reflux, put the eye drops in. I'm trying to stabilize the stuff that I can, so then my brain can start to calm down, because it's like everything's just going off at once. Yeah, I started to be like, oh, I'm getting short of breath. I can feel my chest. Why does my chest hurt? I started having an anxiety attack. My chest didn't hurt. I wasn't short of breath, but I was having issues with my vision. Yeah, Blue, David and Kelly and Carol are all mentioning the glasses, the blue light glasses. It's interesting though, because it doesn't happen any other time. Like when I'm playing video games, I'm fine. I don't know. But yeah, my eyes, that's a big trigger for my anxiety attacks. My eyes will start to get dry, because what happens is my vision goes blurry and I can't, it starts to get hard to process information. I can get a little dizzy even. So my brain goes, oh, you're dying, because you're having all of these physical issues. It's super weird. Anxiety attacks are like the worst. I've gotten better at them. I've had a lot of practice. I've gotten better at ignoring them over the years, but sometimes they'll spike up. Kelly Adams is mentioning the Fu Manchu. I had a Fu Manchu once, but it doesn't look good on overweight dudes. The Fu Manchu has to, if your chin keeps going on under your chin, if you have a double chin, that's probably the best way to put it. Fu Manchus do not work, because it's not a Fu Manchu. It's just a Fu Manchu, and then you have more chin underneath it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's the same reason why people who are overweight, who have good, I'm not saying it will never work. Right now, you're all, oh, you're all crying. You're like, I just did this Fu Manchu, and I'm a little pounds overweight. See, people are already disagreeing with me on this in the comments. I think if you have a double chin, it's really hard to pull off or as Khaki Cube calls it, a Fu Man chin. But if you have a double chin, I'm not saying like it's horrible to have a double chin, right? Everyone's body is different. But what I'm saying is, right, people are shutting off their Patreons. They're all, boo, boo, excellent live stream till the end. All I'm saying, okay, I'll use myself as an example. I've tried a Fu Manchu with a double chin. It looked absolutely ridiculous. It looked foolish. And I've also done a goatee with a double chin. It does not look good. It does not look good on me. So maybe it looks good on everybody else. Sometimes people can pull stuff off. Dude, I've done everything with my hair because it grows so quickly. I've had giant lamb chop, or do they call them pork chops? I don't think it's lamb chops, whatever. I've had giant pork chop sideburns that came all the way down. Right, that was dope. I've done the Fu Manchu. I've done the goatee. I've done the soul patch. Awful. Those are awful on me, right? Maybe they do look good on some people. I did just a mustache, and everything else looked awful. So this is pretty much like where it's at. It's like I trim it. I don't ever let my beard grow as long as it can. But the weirdest thing is I could not grow. All my facial hair was patchy until probably 30, 32. I could not have facial hair before that. It would come in just little patches here and there. Did not work at all. M. Guerrero says double chin gang checking in. Listen, a lot of people have double chins. They're hard to control. It's just a weird place for fat to accumulate. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, if you're rocking a Fu Manchu or a soul patch or a goatee, it may not be as cool as you think it is. Yeah, and Harbinger Solutions says hopefully they will not go missing 411. That would be the creepiest thing about going hiking or going camping or anything like that. David James says, as far as the eyes go, more focus on the screen. Yeah, that could be reading stuff like I do. I am kind of looking away. And when I record the podcast, I'm not looking at the screen too. When I'm recording the podcast, my microphone's on the other side of my table, but I'm looking at the microphone and I turn to check my notes every once in a while. So, but yeah, so guys, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I think this was a lot of fun. Thank you everyone for coming out. Really, really appreciate it. If you weren't able to make this live stream, I totally understand. I really do. It's hard to, and I know this one was short notice, but we'll be doing another one around Thanksgiving. I know that's months away. But again, like this physiological response to doing the live stream, it really takes its toll on me physically. Like my mouth is so dry. I'm drinking water. It's not helping. I'm going to get dehydrated. Three-Eyed Stag, thank you so much for swinging on by. Thanks for 6 years. Thanks for being here. Like, I can't say that enough. It really is like a team effort. And yeah, TG4463, I'm glad you were able to come by as well. Let's see here. Prolo, by the way, I remember you said a long time ago in one of the solar plexus videos. Yeah, send that to me. You used to do music of some kind. I do have some rap. I have 2 zombie rap songs that are available on YouTube. I can send those. You hit me up on Twitter. I'll send those over. The best way you can find those, they're Dead World Part 1 and Part 2. Originally, they were part of an episode, but I took them down for copyright things. But I've always thought about just putting them back up there because we never got dinged for any of that. It was mixtape stuff, so I was taking other rap beats, doing stuff on top of it. But yeah, just go ahead and Prolo, shoot me that graph over on Twitter, and I'll shoot you over the links to the zombie rap songs. There was other rap songs out there as well. I recorded a bunch of stuff, but those are the ones. It was all kind of in that vein, kind of like spooky rap music. I did this in the studio, pretended I was a goblin. Yeah, 6 years is insane, but I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad that we're still doing it. I still got the energy, and as long as you guys are still here, we're doing that as well. Keep on going. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, David, keep recommending it. That's totally awesome. Eventually, someone will start listening. That's what he said. But no, you guys have been really good about that. Again, I don't want it to ever think that those are just words. When I say, if you guys can't support the show, just get the word out, because that is such another great way you can help the show out. Rico in Acapulco, thank you for coming out. Thanks for your donation. Thanks to everyone who was able to donate money, and also thanks to everyone who just donated time to be here. This is what it's all about. So 6 years anniversary. We are going to do. Khaki Cube is making his friends listen to it on the road trips. That's another great way, a captive audience. Thanks everyone for coming out. We're going to have more episodes starting next week. We're not taking a break. There's no break after this, but I'm glad we were able to do a 6-year anniversary special. YouTube, thank you. Thanks for swinging on by. YouTube. I always forget to pronunciate the B. Is that even a word? Pronunciate? I don't know. Kelly, thanks for swinging on by. Everyone, have a great night. I'm going to salute you all. Give you guys a salute. And I'll see you guys on Sunday night, Monday, whenever you listen to the next episode. I love you guys. Thanks for being here. Have a great one. Thanks, Khaki Cube. And then I'm going to hit this button. Joe Logan, thanks for coming out. If I hit this button, there you go. You just went there. And then, there we go. Okay, I'm ending the stream. It's like when you're trying to end the phone call and people are like, who says goodbye first? That's what it always feels like when I'm doing this. Jacob, 3986, thanks for being on by. We got some dabbing smiley faces from YouTube. It is the long goodbye. I'm always afraid I'm going to hit in stream right when one person's like, oh, I just got here. Hello, Jason. But we have to end it at some time. So have a great one, Kelly. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you guys. I'll look at the camera this time because I'm always looking at a picture of myself. We'll see you guys next time on the other side of the world of the weird. I don't have a sign off for a live stream. So have a great one, guys.